Manufacturing just outside of Chicago. We're here with Johnny B, and this is the company that he runs. He bought some tools from us, a comparator squareness checker, and then he also bought one of our granny cubes a few months ago, and we've become pretty good friends through Instagram and YouTube, as well as we've been conversing with the phone and emailing, text messaging back and forth. Johnny's got a machine shop in his garage, and I'm going to be helping him in the future here. He's got a surface grinder we're struggling with right now. He's got a rebuilt Bridgeport milling machine. And you have with a lagoon lathe that's coming?
I've got a little grizzly lathe right now, and then my lagoon lathe should hopefully be here next week sometime, yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, Johnny's going to tell you what dynamic manufacturing is about, and I'm going to just turn it over to him. We're going to sit down, and he's going to explain the history and what this company is all about.
Thank you, Steve. And first of all, thank you guys for being here. I'm excited to have you all. I'm excited to share Dynamic with you guys and all of your followers. We have a very interesting company that I think some people will find very intriguing, and then we also have our machine shop as well that I'm sure most of your followers will be much more familiar with when we get there. So as Steve said, my name is Johnny Bellantuono. I'm the chairman and executive vice president of Dynamic. I've worked here since I was 16 years old, so I actually have 17 years of work experience, believe it or not, even though I'm 33 years old. The story of our company is very unique. My grandfather started it 66 years ago. It started with a $1,000 loan that his in-laws actually went in with him on a joint loan. They co-signed for him for $1,000. He started super transmissions out of his garage and kind of built a small little empire here. So we always like to say that we're a mom and pop shop that exploded. And you know, that's kind of, as I tell the story, you think you'll agree with me. So basically, we started out of a little garage downtown Chicago doing some small repairs on transmissions. We found that there was definitely a need for automatic transmission repair back then. There wasn't a lot of good support at dealerships, and the aftermarket shops were something left to be desired. So he started Super Transmissions. He started one that went really well. He expanded to several other ones. And in the meantime, over the years, he started to recognize there's a need for remanufactured torque converters. For those of you who aren't familiar with torque converters, it's a component of an automatic transmission. I'll let you do your research online so I don't bore you to death. But basically, we weren't able to get really high-quality rebuilt torque converters. So my grandfather bought a lathe, as the engineering spirit inside of him lives on, and started taking apart torque converters and trying to figure out how to rebuild them in his own shop. So he developed a pretty impressive process back there. He recognized that nobody in the Midwest would want to buy a competitor's torque converter, which is where Dynamic was born. So he developed Dynamic torque converters. Essentially, that was their name of their game back then. He started selling through the Midwest. That took off. He did really well. Then they started selling all over the country, all over the world, which kind of led to where we are today. So predominantly we do transmissions, torque converters, and transfer case remanufacturing. Like I said, we do have our machine shop as well. But that's kind of our core business for sure, is automotive remanufacturing. So yeah, we work with some really great OE partners. We do a lot of their service work for them. Fortunately, I can't tell you what their names are, but yeah, we have some big contracts. We kind of are well known in the industry to be the world-class remanufacturing organization for automotive drivetrain components. So that's definitely our claim to fame, what we do best. We're actively actually in a pretty big growth mode right now for the company. We're getting into electrification. We're getting into more machining work, absolutely for sure. Specifically on the electrification side, we have a battery remanufacturing lab that's out in the back. We'll shoot some video of that for sure. But yeah, we're definitely getting our feelers out to other assembly, manufacturing, engineering, design, whatever it may be. We've kind of built a full service house inside of Dynamic, whether it be engineering, design, assembly, obviously, manufacturing processes, machining, you name it, we have it all under this roof, in this campus here in Chicago. Nothing's outsourced, everything's in the country, right here in these 2 miles around where we are. So we're very proud of that fact. We're very proud that we employ almost 900 people. We have great customer partnerships. We've been decorated by several of our customers for our outstanding work and dedication to customer service. You know, we almost do that to a fault sometimes. Whatever the customer needs, we're going to bend over backwards to do it for them. So that's kind of, you know, Steve, where you and I hit it off. You guys' attention to detail and making something correct, and the passion behind what you guys are doing was extremely impressive. And you could see it in your guys' work, and even more so when you meet you and your family, and you guys are just outstanding people. So
Well, thank you.
yeah. So I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm extremely excited to be able to show off a little bit, quite frankly. So we'll do a bunch of different. We'll walk you guys through the plants. We'll show you a more high production environment. We'll show you a more state-of-the-art environment. We'll show you a lot of the machining stuff. We'll show you some of the electrification stuff. You can kind of see where we have all of our feelers out. You can kind of see how we are really a full-service organization on all the tools that we make, all the software we design, and everything from the nuts to the bolts of the whole operation. So, yeah, we look forward to sharing it with you guys, and hopefully you find it interesting.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having this tour and seeing some of the stuff. And he had me as soon as he told me that they have a lot of Morisiki CNCs. Those are my favorite right there.
We just got a brand new one delivered 2 weeks ago, so we're starting to run production on that either today or Monday. So you get a brand new fresh one, horizontal mill. So you'll like that one.
Now, how many different buildings you have? Like different operations in a couple different buildings now?
Correct, yeah. So this campus here is mainly our transmission campus, and then about 2 miles up the road in Melrose Park, we do most of our torque converter work and then some of our transfer case work. We have another big warehousing facility up there, and then our old headquarters is also acting as a storage facility right now, but I've got a feeling that's going to change by the end of the year. We're probably going to either shift possibly our electrification group into that facility, or possibly even the machine shop fully into that facility, because we're rapidly running out of room back here.
Okay,
So yeah,
right now you have almost 1 million square feet, if I remember correctly.
that's correct. Yes. Yep.
And it was the GM Supplier of the Year award you've had 22 times?
That's correct. Yeah. So we've won the General Motors Supplier of the Year award 22 times. For people who are unfamiliar with that award, essentially GM has somewhere around 22,000 suppliers all over the globe. They basically go through a nominating procedure internally. So somebody at General Motors has to nominate your company for that award, and then you go through a selection process, which we are not privy to any of that information. All we know is that we've been nominated, and we've won 22 times, which is an incredible feat. So out of 22,000 suppliers, somewhere between 95 and 110 suppliers win annually, and a lot of people don't win it ever again. They do it once, and it's a huge accomplishment. It's still a huge accomplishment every time we get the news that we've won again. It feels just as good as the first time, the 22nd time. So, yeah, so that's a huge deal. I mean, as far as in the automotive industry, that's a pretty big win for us. So I say that we have the best team in the world here at Dynamic, and I use that as credibility to back it up. There's only one other company in the world who has more Supplier of the Year wins than we do. And we were disqualified from receiving the award for 5 years because we aren't an international company. So we like to think that if we had those extra 5 years that we could have made it. We maybe could have sneaked out those other people, but they're another outstanding company. There's a lot of outstanding Supplier of the Year award winners that are pretty amazing to walk among those types of people. So it's an incredible honor for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're going to carry on with the tour. We're going to go on the shop floor next.
Yep.
And we're going to start seeing some of the operation. We can't film everything here. We'll be able to, Johnny will kind of show us what we can and can't film. And so just buckle up. I think it'll be a pretty good ride.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Okay, everybody. So here we are in the back of one of our teardown areas. As you guys were made aware in the interview, we are in the remanufacturing business. So we actually get experienced transmissions known as core in the remanufacturing world. And we actually take those entire transmissions and break them completely down. So here you're seeing some of the transmission cases, some pans, some other drums, and then as you saw on the kind of racetrack teardown line back there, all the subcomponents are taken out and they get spread around to a bunch of different subcomponent teardown areas where everything is completely disassembled, inspected, cleaned, and then return to the assembly line. So right here we're looking at our case prep line. You saw on the back side of that wall all the cases were dirty and grimy. So what we actually do here, scrub them all down. We make sure we get all that gasket material off, make sure there's no dents, dings, anything that will make a leak test issue. Then the cases get painted, and they're finally prepped here. So they pretty much look brand new by the time we're done with them. Here you can see a little sub-assembly area here. It's just a little press that we made in-house, pressing the main seal there in the back of the transmission. It's another shot of the case prep area. You can kind of see how we go through the wall there where we started in the original shots, and then it came through. So the guys back here are all inspecting, getting some of the subcomponents done, and then it will get delivered down this area here to where the assembly line is. So we didn't do too much footage of the actual assembly line back there. But you can kind of see the final test rollers. So here we're actually in the machine shop now. This is the 4L60E case. So this is a component that we create. We make this from a casting, so it actually does a beginning operation. Here you can see the ID turning, and then here's a good spot of the lathe. So we actually use these big, long, anti-vibration boring bars and do all the inside diameters of the cases right here on this big Mori lathe. Pretty terrifying when we first got it. As you can see, there's the fixture, how we hold it in there. That whole mass rotates in there, and we could do all of the ID turning. Pretty impressive machine. There's another look at those boring bars. Really cool anti-vibration technology in those. The stick out being as long as it is. It's pretty impressive what they can do. I have a closer look here at the fixture. You can see everything is balanced. Next up is our 5-axis mill. This is a DMG 5-axis mill. So we do all the finish operations on this one machine. It's very impressive. It's extremely I shouldn't say user-friendly, but it's extremely versatile in what it can do. We have a whole variety of tools here that do a myriad of features inside of the part. You get a good look at the tool rack there, tool magazine, if you will. So pretty good tooling capacity on this machine. And we're able to do all of our custom tools, even some pretty large tools, and it does fit inside of this magazine. Kind of get a good look there at the fixturing and the 5-axis capabilities inside. So we're actually able to tip this case or spin it, rotate it, and hit all but one side that it's fixtured on. There's a lot of angular holes inside of the transmission cases, so we're able to kind of get all of those in this one fixturing setup. So we're doing a little servo bore, I believe this is here. I can't see through that window, but you'll notice we're going to do a couple of different features in that hole with the different types of custom tooling in there. Some of you might be wondering why we have to return the case to the home position. In the programming, we just do that for safety's sake, especially for some of the longer tools. I believe there's one tool in here that's very long that we need to rotate the case flat to get the tool out of the magazine. So basically, this is our Sprint vision system. It's really, really nice for measuring really, really small features or complex features, especially like small radiuses on bores or any kind of compound angles on the inside. So in this situation right here, we have a valve body that we actually destructed on purpose so that we can measure that the tool forms that we are using out there are actually still functioning properly. So she's going to actually run this through a cycle of a program. As you can see, we program all the locations of those holes, and it will actually go in there and pick up measurements for us. You can also run the machine manually and overlay CAD drawings on top of it, which is really cool. Bolt patterns, anything, little radiuses, angles, whatever you want to do. This comes in really handy for stuff that is really difficult to check, whereas before you'd have to like mold it and check it on an optical comparator or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this, if you can sacrifice a part, you can get into a bore, or even any small outside features, whatever you need to do. But it's really nice. You can program it so it can actually run a cycle and print you a report, or you can use it manually and overlay a drawing. So you can use it like a pretty fancy optical comparator.
Okay. Now, when you locate the part, has that got some location features, or does that just get it close and it's self-aligned?
So I think what usually happens, especially on a part like this, is that you'll pick one hole that's a location feature,
Okay.
and then as long as you build up your fixture in the same way, you can
Okay.
just keeping parts, locate on that one hole, center it up, and then it'll run the program itself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And so, yeah, you
You can
all
see some of the
profile on
details,
screen
yeah.
over here. Yeah, that's quite high magnification on there.
Yeah, and I don't think that's everything it's got right now either.
Yeah.
It goes pretty tight. So you can see it pretty handy. And I'm just piggybacking off the one that you posted the other day, which
Yeah.
it reminded me of this right away. I'm like, oh, you got that for a lot less money than I got mine for. I can tell you that.
Well, I brought that with me, so
Did
if
you?
you want to play
Cool.
with it and
Yeah.
stuff, I'll
That
show
would
you
be
some
cool.
neat stuff with that
Definitely.
when we get to your house there.
Careful not to touch the batteries, they could hurt you.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the battery lab. So that's actually one of a full battery pack out of a vehicle. So we're doing some testing on those right now. These are actually second life potentially used batteries. So these were in another stationary storage project. This company has a complete warehouse full of them that they haven't been monitoring. So we're actually going to run, they gave us 36 parts. We're going to do some test runs for them. That's exactly what those machines are doing right now. So this one is a modular level tester, and then those ones down there are pack level testers.
So what are they actually testing?
So they're actually going to go through a whole different cycle. So they'll drain it out, they'll discharge them, they'll charge them to certain levels, and they'll check and see how fast it's taking to get there and how much power is going inside.
Okay.
And then you could kind of basically give a health grade to the battery packs.
Yeah.
So
It looks like they're pushing some amperage through there with the size of them cables.
big time, yeah. So this is kind of the battery lab. So yeah, that's what it looks like underside of a vehicle. We'll take it all the way apart. Batteries are basically an entire pack, and then there's modules like this, and then inside of modules there's cells. So usually they'll take the modules and they'll kind of, come up with creative shapes basically to fit on the underside of vehicles or other locations they're putting them in. But
So
more.
you know what the amperage hour and the voltage on these are?
I don't know what it's running right now. We'd have to
Okay.
ask the battery engineers, which
Oh, I
they're
was just
they're probably
curious
at lunch.
'cause that's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty serious cable, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. That's
Well-
why I was wondering how fast are these designed for a real fast charge? I'm assuming if they're in cars.
So they're all lithium ion. Yeah, these
Okay.
ones are not automotive applications. That one is though. So
Okay.
yes, so the automotive applications, they could take some pretty serious amperage.
Okay.
I think they want to try and get them obviously charged as quickly as possible without lighting it on fire.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, the lithium ion batteries though, it seems like that's definitely the future. That's where it's going to stay for at least a little while. So it's very
Now-
cool.
Now, you was telling me that you used to be part of that battery factory in Holland, right? Or did you actually own that?
Yes, no, I did not own that. So we had a partnership with them for a little while,
Okay.
and we're still in a good relationship with them. We had a strategic partnership that pretty much expired, and we just said, okay, until stuff starts really getting popping off, and if there's something that we could work on it together, then we'll kick that back up again. But for now, we'll just leave it be.
Yeah.
So this is the battery lab. This is the future of our company, I think. Okay, guys, back on the voiceover here. So we're touring the machine shop. Right here to my immediate left, we've got two vertical lathes that are very old, but they are still very useful for us. We actually bought those from a customer after we did some other work for them, and they were at the end of use for them, so we were able to pick those up for a really good price, and they're still running great today. It's just a live axis lathe here. We do quite a bunch of different jobs on this machine. It's one of those workhorse machines that we use for a variety of things. Got a couple vertical mills, nothing fancy. Still have a lot of manual equipment in our tool room, so we've got our 3 bridge ports there. This is also kind of another angle of the tool room. That's David, one of our CNC programmers, and his Doosan vertical mill there. He makes all kinds of different tooling and fixturing and knife components, some other odds and ends work on here. That's a really versatile workhorse of a machine for David. So Bart's going to take us over here and show us our SMX machines. So these are actually 9-axis mill turns. very interesting machines. Again, we're really able to kind of take that transfer line one operation mentality that a lot of the higher volume shops use and use these multi-axis and multi-spindle machines to kind of do a lot of those operations in one or two ops and have a finished part come off. This is a part for another one of our customers. This is just a nylon plug. It's very cool concept. I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk about exactly what they're doing, so we'll skip over the details, but a very interesting and perfect job for that SMX machine. Here we have a little vertical mill Haas, but we actually have a trunnion table to get those extra axes out of it. We're doing some firearm components on that machine. Now we're back at the big lathe here. We're jumping around a little bit. So this is actually one of our newer Moris. This is a horizontal mill. So this one is actually doing some valve bodies for one of our other transmission lines. We are going to be the tier 1 supplier for this component for the service side of the house. So this is definitely our newest toy. We've got some really interesting fixturing on this one. We're actually able to use the side of the fixture and then also the top of the fixture you can see up there. So we could actually hit both sides of the component as well as on the opposite axis on the top we could do all the rest of the boards up on top of there. So really cool fixturing idea that we worked on this project, and it's working out really well. I'll just let the machine show you its work here. Okay, so we're back taking a look at the fixture here and get a little bit closer look on how we're holding it. Steve and Bart were talking shop. He was very intrigued with some of the tools that we were using, as well as the fixturing setup and the machine itself and the operating system that it uses. And Steve and I were walking back to look at some of the other pieces of equipment. We noticed this big bar of steel on the floor. We got a good kick out of that, of some ideas we could have used it for. So some of our other grinders that we have here. This one's a Super Tech semi-automatic one. We've had mixed results with this grinder. It works really well sometimes. It does not have a lot of adjustability, so once you get it dialed in, it works well, but it's not the most versatile machine that we've ever had. Here's some of our old school grinders. A lot of the tool makers that we have working for us are very familiar with these pieces of equipment, and they like to use these older dogs with still got a lot of life in them. This grinder's a little bit unique. It seems like its controls are reversed as opposed to doing the side to side with the table on the left and the infeed on the right. That one's kind of flipped. It's kind of tricky to run that one. This is kind of the grinder that we probably use the most.